Doo doo.
Rising.
Grand Rising, how are you?
I'm well.
That's good, that's good. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started so we can post this on the YouTube. But let's go ahead and do introductions. For those people who don't know, my name is Monique Macklin, also known as the Pink Power CEO. And I work with people normally who average about $50,000 a year or more who are looking to begin their wealth building journey, where I help people to make, manage, and multiply their money.
And I'm the Prophetic Financier, Al Mills, and I specialize in helping ordinary individuals create what I like to call socioeconomic mobility, which derives to having more income, more impact, and more freedom by thinking, banking, and leveraging better. So I'm excited to be here today.
I am as well. You got to put a little. You are you excited? You don't sound excited. No.
Oh, I'm excited. Absolutely.
So today's topic
Absolutely.
is our topic today is should you buy or rent forever? Because that is in today's economy, is it safer to continue renting, or should you go ahead and buy in this economy right now? So
Well, I
what
think
say
that is,
you?
in my opinion, I think that's not just in this economy. I think it's more of a financial intelligence question on to do that. But most folks have been indoctrinated, as we know, as home ownership is the American dream. And
Mm-hmm.
so many people are in pursuit of that dream. But I like to
Correct.
always say, if the word is dream, it's not a
It's not a
reality.
reality. Exactly.
Now, if it's in your imagination, it's your reality because creation happens twice, first in thought, then in deed, right? In action. But in
Mm-hmm.
this particular situation, we need to kind of look at renting versus ownership to compare and see where is it better to be and how to effectuate that opportunity. So yeah, today's
Mm-hmm.
conversation, I'm going to be excited to talk about it. So let's look at home ownership. Let's look at the dream, right? Let's talk about the dream.
Okay.
Most people work very hard to put aside some down payment money to be able to buy the dream home. And that's the
Correct.
American dream, which is basically the house with the white picket fence, the
Mm-hmm.
2.2 kids, and the dog named Spot is the
Mm.
American dream.
It is.
The average American buys their home at 41 years of age,
Wow.
and they take out on average a 30-year mortgage. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're 41 and you take out a 30-year mortgage, you're probably going to pay your house off around 71 years old if
Mm-hmm.
you don't refi.
If you don't
Now,
refinance,
the
correct.
average person who owns a home refis at least three times
Mm-hmm.
in between years 3 and 5 is the first time, uh, then 10 years and the like, and they always reset the 30-year mortgage.
Yes, every time you refinance, it restarts the clock all over again.
Now, it doesn't have to, but
Mm-hmm.
most people don't know that, and they're
Right.
offered back another 30-year mortgage because everyone's looking at the payment,
The
the
payment
monthly
amount, the lower
payment. And
payment.
so a
Mm-hmm.
15-year mortgage will tend to be a higher payment, but you pay less interest because the term is shorter, right? And
Correct.
so that's why so many people actually pursue or choose a 30-year over a 15 or 20-year mortgage in that regard. So now we just
Exactly.
think about it from that perspective first. 41, you refinance 3 to 5 years later, you're between 43 and 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Then you refi again in 3 to 5 more years, you're 51 years old. And
Right.
then you maybe refi one more time and cash out one more time, you're 50, 55-year old, 50 years
Mm-hmm.
old, 55-year old, and you still have a 30-year mortgage. You're now 85, and the mortality table in America is 78 to 80 years old. So you probably won't even live long enough
To
to
pay it
pay
off.
off the payment till death.
Well, then, of course, if you have this home, and you're getting in your latter years, and as we have been discussing on several of our conversations, most people are deficient when it comes to their retirement account savings. So what they'll do is wind up getting one of those reverse mortgages.
Yeah, the infamous reverse mortgage. Well, first of all, before I answer that question,
Mm-hmm.
this is just our legal team always wants me to disclaim this. So I'm not offering legal, accounting, or financial advice. This is purely based on my personal and professional experience,
Correct.
and it's more or less educational and entertainment for those of you who are here who are family and friends. So, with that out the way, yeah. So there's the infamous reverse mortgage. Now, if those of you don't understand what a reverse mortgage is basically you would go to a specific lender who would lend you from your equity. And instead of you having to make a mortgage payment, they will give you either a lump sum of cash or give you a monthly installment being paid to you, but it's eroding the equity that's in the said property. And at some point in time, when all balances equal zero or equal to what they paid out and the equity is equal, they're going to want you to either sell that property to pay them off or they take your property.
Correct. Exactly. But even going back to what you were just discussing about the whole mortgage thing, the 30-year mortgage, there's now 40-year mortgages too. Because the longer the term, the lower the payment. So, people are just they're looking at it trying to be payment conscious because most mortgages are averaging over $2,000 a month now. And that's pricey for many people, depending on, of course, where you live. But you can still get a mortgage at 30 years, right? Let's say the traditional mortgage, and there are ways that you can still pay it off in 15 years, right? But you'll have the safety net of having it at 30. If something were to arise financially, you still have the lower payment set in stone.
Correct.
Right.
Well, let's talk about why mortgages came about, why single family homes became the American dream. We have to go back to World War II. And Vietnam and World War II, those two wars, a lot of soldiers went away to war and came back to the United States, and they wanted to be reunited with their families. And that's when that whole baby boomer era came about. You see, these are key phrases and key words. Why was it a baby boomer? Because all of the soldiers came home being separated from their spouses, and they began to reunite, and they do what adult people do, and they created families. And so that created a whole market, but not just a market for baby clothes and things of the like, but now there became a housing problem. See, prior to that, most folks bought their home cash or they built it over time.
Correct.
Brick by brick. They either inherited land from a family member and they built their home brick by brick or board by board, and they didn't have to go to a bank to borrow money. But so with that happening, with the GI Bill being in effect, the bank said, oh, you know what? We can create a product and call it a mortgage, and we can lend them monies to be able to own the so-called American dream, because the baby boomers age was there, and they just need to create that whole family, that family of American apple pie situation. And so they've done that. But just be mindful for finance. On the bank's balance sheet, that mortgage that they issued, or if they receive, you will, but that's a whole other conversation. They're receiving a payment from you. So a 30-year mortgage, right, is considered 360 payments.
Correct.
Is a 30-year mortgage. So look at it from the bank's perspective. They have a financial instrument that is paying them for 360 payments. And they technically have the first lien on the property, which makes them the rightful owner by lien until the homeowner pays them off. So technically, everyone, the bank is the owner. You're still a tenant in common with privilege, with all the liability to maintain the property. But yet the bank doesn't have any recourse of any form of maintenance requirement. They passed all that liability on to you for the sake of saying you're a homeowner.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so that's why that was established. So a mortgage is not in the best interest of a borrower, it was in the best interest of a bank.
Of the bank.
Because they're getting those 360 payments, and they have the property as collateral for the said loan. And again, we could talk about how loans are really not lawful and legal, but that's another conversation I would love to talk about. But for the subject matter and topic today, that means you really are a tenant, technically, until you pay off the bank.
Well, you're still a tenant, even after you pay off the bank.
But the catch is this: you borrow $100,000 and you end up paying back $300,000.
Exactly.
And then $200 in interest. So How is that possible? How did that make you an owner, right? How did that make you in a position of that it's an asset to you? And so that goes back to the financial education, right? What is an asset? An asset is something that pays you passively and goes up in value. And a
Correct.
liability is something that you pay for, and it can go up or down in value, but you still have to pay for it physically, right? Exchanging your time and your energy to pay for it. So there lies the dilemma. Okay. Now I'll give an example. So we're in the financial space,
Right.
and we substantiate abundance of cash flow because we play with money every day.
Correct.
We sell and rent money every day. That's pretty much the life of a private banker. That's what we do. We exchange units of exchange money every day. That's what we do. So the lifestyle, that's why I always say buy the income and lease the lifestyle,
Correct.
lease the luxury. So in this example, I'm going to give an example. You and I have a lifestyle. We have a lifestyle. We all have it. We want to buy a $5 million house because we're flexing, right? We're making the money, and we want to show, we want to have, we deserve that life because we put the work in and we solve a lot of problems. And you want to have the best life you could have. So you buy a $5 million property.
Right.
Now, to buy a $5 million property, it's a jumbo loan, first of all, but you have to put down at least 20%.
Correct.
So that means you have to put down $1 million as a down payment. But you also have, let's just say, 4% closing costs. That's another $200,000.
Correct.
So you're all in $1.2 million.
To
Now,
just buy if you're
just
looking
to
to buy the home.
just to
Correct.
buy the home, and at the end of that 30 years, I probably paid close to almost 12 to 13 million dollars in total, and we look at it for 30 years. But I want to go back to lifestyle. So those who have intelligence like myself, because I would not buy my house today. If I were doing it all over again, I would not spend $1 million plus as a down payment to buy said house today.
Right.
But look at it from this way. You can rent. That's the topic. Rent versus own, or rent forever. I would prefer, and the advice that I would give, and those in our community, I would say you can live in that $5 million house for roughly about 30, 40,000 a month.
Correct.
Now, so let's just use 40,000 because the math is simpler. First and last in security, you're in that house for $90,000. Now, as a tenant, you still have access to the 15,000 square feet, if that's what it was, the pool, the guest house, the pool house,
All the
everything,
amenities.
all the amenities and everything, except now one thing. If the roof is leaking, you call the landlord.
Correct.
If something's wrong with the plumbing, you call the landlord. Okay, that's as an occupant. If you owned it, you're responsible for those maintenance plus your 1.2, $1.3 million.
Yes.
But now come back to my $90,000. How much money do I have left over from my 1.2, 1.3 million? Over 1.1 million.
Over point.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, just to say 1.2. I can take that 1.2 and practice what I preach. I'll go and buy some more income.
Correct.
And that 1.2 could be a down payment to control an $11.2 million asset. That produces worst case 10%, which means I'm making 1.2 million a year on the 1.2 million a year.
Correct.
I mean, 1.2 million investment. What is my cost of the mortgage? 30,000 a month. I mean, my rent payment's 30,000 a month.
Right. So that's about $360 a year, right?
So 360 out of the 1.2 million that I'm making from the asset that I just bought that's providing me passive income.
Right. So
Who's flexing?
you are, exactly. That's the
Now,
goal.
I've rented the house because we own nothing, control everything, right?
Correct.
And nothing in your personal name ever.
Ever.
I corporately lease the luxury
Exactly.
in my corporate name on my trust. And that rent payment is tax deductible 100%. Compare that to if I was the owner occupied, I can't claim any mortgage interest because it's my primary residence.
It's your primary residence, so you can't do that. You get a little bit of a benefit the first year, but after that,
Correct.
You don't get any
So
benefit
I
from that.
prefer to live where I work than to work where I live.
Correct. Exactly.
And so when you compare those two, just by having the right information, you can do that. Now, can
But
you?
you're gonna have the naysayers. They're like, well, I'm not building equity. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But you just what you did was you flexed, of course, because you took the money you would have put into the house, and now you have turned that money into more money that's
Making
going to
money.
pay for where you live,
I
plus
bought
allow
that.
you to invest some more, plus allow you to do whatever you want to do at the same time.
I bought some flow. I bought cash flow. That's what we teach in our
You bought
community.
flow, you bought freedom.
And freedom.
So yeah, and
Because now I don't have to
you
worry
still get the
about paying.
flex.
And I don't have to, if I don't want to get up in the morning to have to go to work to pay a bill, I don't have to because the asset that I just purchased allowed me to do that.
You heard what we just did, right? Flow, freedom, and flex, right? But yeah, we're that.
Yeah, the three F's.
I like to put things together. But
Flow,
yeah,
freedom, and flex.
flow, freedom, and you're still able to flex. So yeah, that's this is information that we like to share and give this information out to because we have these conversations, like I always say, within our own private community. But I like to bring this to the masses or people who want to raise their hand and say, I want to learn how to do this too. Because yes, you can own a home, but as I often say, a single family home is not an asset. There's no benefit to that if your spouse have to leave that place every day or go into an office within that house and work and toil to pay for it.
Two
So,
thirds of your life, you are
correct.
outside of that house that you're paying for.
Exactly. So there is no flex in having a single family home. Finding assets that help you pay for or completely pay for that single family home, your forever home. Now that's the flex. But if you have to get up every day and work at home, outside of the home, that's a liability. It's not an asset at all. So I keep saying that because I think people what has been regurgitated so much over the years, like the American dream, quote unquote, is a lie.
Correct. Now go to let's go. Now that was the first part comparing the highest and best use of your money, your unit of exchange, your flow, right? Your hard-earned money, if you will.
Right.
I just
Right.
gave an example to where you can put it the highest and best use. So the steps would be go buy the flow, the cash flow
Cash
first,
flow.
then let the cash flow finance your lifestyle.
Right.
Now, it can be owned, but it'll never be owned by you.
Never.
So if you still are into that, I still want to know that I own the property. Well, you'll own it by controlling the power of the pen in your corporation, and the corporation can write the expense off. Because remember, guys, a corporation is a legal person, but it's not a natural person in which they are breathing and bleed. They breathe and bleed as a natural person. So a corporation can't reside in any structure.
Correct.
And so for that, it becomes an investment to the corporation. And so you could legitimately own it by virtue of your corporation and learn how to beat taxes and reduce your tax liability because that's your number one expense in life is your taxes.
Exactly.
So how much you make is how much you retain and how much you re-impregnate to make more babies, where your babies make babies.
You're
Right?
gonna have to explain that.
Which part of that do I need to explain?
You know, what he's saying is you have to learn how to get your money to make babies, how to impregnate your money, which really means is I have to put my money in places and spaces where it's going to continue to grow and to
And grow
multiply
and multiply.
and like gremlins. So that's what happens when you're impregnating your money, or your FRN or your units of exchange. So with that, but
Raise the bar.
which
Raise
all
the bar.
is it's money. But what this whole process is really about cash flow. So this topic is, should you rent forever or should you buy? So he just gave an example of why renting would be a plus for many people. A lot of people want to see their name on a deed or to say I did this, and it's just like somebody has to have their name on a business and all this other nonsense.
Poverty mindset. Poverty mindset. That's a
Yeah,
slave mentality
it
because you
is.
want to prove that you can attain something and demonstrate that your name is on it. But
Yeah.
control is more powerful than ownership.
And privacy is even more powerful than that. Imagine being so wealthy that nobody knows who you are.
That's the key. Now,
That's the
that's the
key.
ultimate flex.
Exactly.
I don't want to be on Forbes. Never
Nope.
will. Never will. I don't want to be
Exactly.
I don't want to be a internet sensation. No,
Q
you
said she
lose
just did
liberties.
in the comments. Q, hey Q, Q just said that she actually just did something like that with a property in Georgia. Did you
Awesome.
did you purchase it in your business name, your corporate name?
Well, we'll wait for her response. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's like the ultimate flex when you can have something, an asset that is allowing you to pretty much live rent free.
But now I have to caution you again, because see, this is the trap once again. A lot of us will do it. I put it in an entity. I'm gonna use the word entity for now,
Yeah, yeah.
but that entity sometime would be an LLC. And their name personally is the member in that LLC. And they are the only person in that LLC. So even though you may have purchased in an LLC, but because the LLC was a single member and you were the natural person's name who was named in that LLC, you just reversed what you did. Because
Uh-oh. Your mic muted. There you go. You came back.
I don't know what happened. That was weird. So I said, so even though you purchased as an entity LLC, but your name is the member and you're the sole member,
Right.
you now become a disregarded entity, and it's back to being a sole proprietor once again, because all of the information on that activity will be on your 1040 form. To make that make sense. So there's strategies of how you do that the right way using the LLC,
Right.
and those are some of the things that we do teach. That's the more proprietary, higher level information of how you can do that with an LLC.
Okay. Now Q also said she said yes, the house was purchased in her company's name. However, what I did is lived in it for 2 years.
Okay, perfect.
That's what she did initially.
Well, there's strategies that folks do that who are real estate investors, those who don't know. If you're fixing and flipping houses, the best way to ultimately fix and flip a property is you should buy the property, fix it up, live in it for 2 years, and then sell it. And based on your marital status, single or married, you have a tax exemption of 250 federal for on income, on profit and capital gains, or 500 as a married couple. So you can fix and flip houses every 2 years and be tax free, 250 to $500,000 on non-taxable income.
Right.
But if it's in an LLC's name in that regard, it may not, you might not get that benefit because it's not in your name.
It's because it's not in your name at that time. But in the way we actually teach is that it's never in your name because, again, own nothing but control everything is
Correct.
the mantra that is spoken often. So own absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely nothing. So this is, again, this conversation is really just to give people some highlights on ways that you can actually have access to an asset, right? You can still have access to it as a renter because, again, I know I made a video about this a couple months ago about how millennials, again, were unaware that they were responsible for so much when it came to home ownership as opposed to renting. So yeah, when the toilet breaks, the AC goes out, the heat goes out, all of these things, that's on you. The onus is on you at that point. You just can't call the maintenance office and they come and fix everything. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to deal with maintenance, renting may be the best thing. And there are ways that you can rent corporately, which is what Al just went over. You can rent corporately, a house corporately. You can rent an apartment corporately, and and get the tax benefits that way as well. You
Now,
would have to speak with somebody in
correct,
order.
to do that. Now, I want to be
You would
clear
always have
though.
to. You would have to speak with someone, your CPA, your accountant, and just make sure that they guide you on how that is properly done when it comes to taxes.
Now, that information that I just gave was for business owners,
Correct.
people who are in business. If you're a wage earner, that doesn't benefit you in any way.
Not at all.
But if you want to take the shift and start to transition into doing business and then opening up a myriad or a plethora of ways to alleviate tax liability, then that's going to be something that we're going to always, advocate that you should do, without a
Right.
doubt.
The average wage earner is paying between 32 and 40% in taxes.
And then 50 to 60% for living expenditures.
Right. So it's very difficult. That's why people will say, I had to save for 10 years to get this down payment on a house or some, because there's not enough room in their income because they're getting taxed heavily and their income is just not going to be able to allow them to do exactly what they're looking to do right away. So it usually takes years for people to get that money up. Now, don't get us wrong. There are programs that you can go into as an individual, like down payment assistance and things of that nature. Closing costs can come as well as a seller concession from the seller of the home. There are ways that you can still get into home ownership, but just understand that home ownership doesn't just mean you just move in. It comes with responsibilities. And when we have a person coming through our program, because again, we're private bankers, so we can, fund deals regardless of credit on people who are looking to get access to real estate properties as investors or whatever. We do take people, especially who want to live in the house, right? We want them to understand that there's rules to this whole process of home ownership. So it's not the same as renting, and you need to understand, the rules of engagement if that's what you want to do.
So let me go there. I want to share, guys, a question because most of us watch some very highly publicized TV programs. I want to use Power as an example. Everyone knows the founding lead character was Ghost, James St. Patrick. He rented his penthouse.
He did.
He was the owner of several nightclubs and, of course, laundromats and other things, and, of course, the other side to that world, too. But nevertheless, he owned businesses that paid for the rent for the townhouse, the penthouse that he rented, that he lived in.
Right.
So I'm just giving you an example that there's a classic example, a person who was making millions of dollars as a club owner. I'm going to keep it on the legitimate side, just as a club owner and a serial entrepreneur between laundromats and all of that. He was able to use that to rent the apartment. And even when he was going to move in with the other star, Angela Valdez, in this example, she went to get an application to rent. Now, she was the assistant U.S. District Attorney, but yet he was a business owner and he was going to come over and rent the apartment with her. And he was going to use truth or the income as truth as his source of income to qualify for the apartment that they were going to rent together. So that's another example to show you how it's all about you creating flow first and then leasing the lifestyle or leveraging the luxury. But so many of us have been conditioned. We go out and slave and grind to pay for the luxury.
And you're hustling backwards in that
Doesn't
manner.
make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Now let's fast forward. Let's say you did the right thing. You bought a house. You paid it off. Here's something you don't control. Maintenance or HOA fees go up without your control. And so is real estate taxes. So do you believe that if you bought a house 30 years ago that your taxes and your HOA is going to remain the same or your maintenance costs? No.
Some people have thought that.
It's
That's
going
the
to continue
problem.
to go up. And so now you're in retirement.
Don't forget insurance as well.
Yeah,
Insurance goes up.
And you're retired on a fixed income, but there's some variables in your house that's not fixed.
Exactly.
and eventually it can outprice you, and now you're forced to go back to work just to cover your taxes and your maintenance or HOA fees, and you're
Hmm.
retired and you're 70. That's another reason why you see a lot of our seniors
I was
as
getting ready to
Walmart
say that.
greeters and cashiers in the grocery stores and all of that, because they
Door
have to make
dashing.
and they have to make up the difference in the money because their taxes increase. The house is free and clear. They equity rich, but
Well,
they cash
they
flow
or
poor.
their equity, they may be free and clear, but if they didn't refinance three, four, and five times, so they may be, mortgage free. But most people who have equity in their house, they're going to tap into it, right? A lot of people are going to do that, and then they have these absorbent mortgages. Then the taxes are going up, then the insurance is going up, and their little $200,000 in 401k done ran out. Now you have to go back to work, and because Social Security is not going to cover all of that.
So let's look at liquidity. So if you bought the house and you're in a 30-year commitment, and say your economic conditions change and personally or economy wise, and you need to get out, I can honestly tell you, if everyone who here owns a home, real estate is not very liquid.
No.
You just don't sell. You just don't wake up this morning, but all right, I'm offloading this deal right now. You can't get out of the mortgage that quickly, and you can't sell the house that quickly. Because if the market's crashing around you, you
Hmm.
can't get out. You can't even sell it fast enough to get out of the hardship,
True.
and so you suffer the injury of credit being credit damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you were leasing, oh, there's something that's called, you can break your lease, and it's called a cancellation fee or termination fee. If you cancel leases, there's maybe 2 months worth of payment, but that's it. You're out. You can be
Yeah.
liquid,
Go
be in
on
and
with your
out,
life.
go on with your life. And you know what? I can't afford this lifestyle no more. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Give them notice, pay the little fee, and catch me if you can.
Right.
Whereas that mortgage, oh, they're gonna hunt you down.
Yeah.
They're gonna list pendants you with lawsuits. Your
Mm-hmm.
name is gonna be in the paper, auctioned off. Your neighbor's gonna see the sheriff's sale. They're gonna bruise your credit, and if you're on the JOB, because that's what you use to qualify your purchase, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to garnish your pay.
Mm-hmm.
Why put yourself through that
Right. I mean, this
if
is
there's a
like
better way?
we're saying that there's alternatives to this whole process. We're not saying
Not do it.
it's kind of like when we talk about college being a big scam. I always say that because it is. But unless you're going to be a doctor or something, that you really need to be in school for. But some people spend 4 years and 6 years going for some literary degrees or something. I don't know. But it has turned out to be a big scam because you have these six-figure loans at the back of it. Because I look at credit reports all day long, and a lot of people owe over six figures on student loans. And at no point in time would the government have given you a six-figure loan to go buy a property, but they'll give you six figures to go and become an art teacher. Like,
Make that
make
make
it
sense.
make it make sense.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. Very much so. Very much so.
so you have to, it's the system has been set up to have people in bondage, in financial bondage, and we're just trying to really show you different ways that you can, become, unshackled from that if you don't want to be. Yes, we've been hearing, go to school, get a great education, get some more education. Now go get your career, go get your husband, get your kids, go get the house, go get all of these things, and you'll be surprised how many people are living in these McMansions because that's what they were buying, especially in the like early 2000s. I don't, they're still doing it now, but people are downsizing a lot more now.
Well,
But
that's another thing, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue. I'm
they're
sorry.
still spending. They still have these like homes, and a lot of times these homes are really to show other people I've made it when you don't have to do that. It's not necessary for you to put yourself in a financial bind and a financial chokehold to prove to other people that you've done the way that the system has told you to do it. You've done exactly that.
I
You
want to
don't
give an
have to do
example.
that.
I'm gonna leave the name anonymous to protect the innocent and the ignorant.
Okay.
But I have a colleague that lives in a very affluent community,
Hmm.
and I did business with this person many years before. But then we kind of disconnected and we reconnected, and one day I swung by his place, and that was a nice, what I would say, 10,000 square foot home. and nice community, and you always go, so when I grew up, I want to have one of your size, with a house like you, TPF, but no, but nevertheless. So I went to his home, and to my surprise, he had the exterior of the home looked beautiful.
Right.
Grounds was perfect, gated community, tennis courts, golf, all the good stuff, all the amenities in the community.
Okay.
The gentleman didn't have any furniture in his house. It
Really?
was like a ghost town. When I came in,
It was
he was like,
echoing.
when he said, "Hey, how are you?" I was like, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." I'm like, "Whoa!" I heard myself say, "I'm fine," and I was like, in my mind, I'm saying, "What is going on?"
Maybe
He
he's
had a
remodeling. Was he
no,
remodeling?
he had a modest little dining table, a couple of beach chairs on travertine floors. I was like, "What is going on?" And I said, and I asked him, I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Man," he says, "you know how much it's going to cost to furnish a house this size? I didn't have the money yet, and things were slow in the business." I'm like,
Mm.
"But you've been living here 7 years
7 years?
and did not buy furniture in
He could have brought
seven
one item.
years."
He could have brought one thing annually.
And again, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just showing a point. He was so fixated on owning the house and flaunting his zip code,
Yeah.
and the world thinks that they know he lives in a very affluent community, but couldn't afford. After making all the $30,000 in taxes and all of that, he couldn't, and he bought it individually under his name,
Under his name. Yeah.
and he was not able to make ends meet. So he lived in poverty, in silence, with the face of luxury.
House rich, cash poor.
And he was like, and he can't get out because there are not many people who can afford to buy the house.
Oh. That's another reason why I don't understand why people buy those like multi-million dollar. It's they're nice, and I guess the incomes, some people's incomes are able to do that, but those homes stay on the market for a minute.
Well, he bought the house again back in the good old days before. Now he bought the house, on an 80-20 mortgage,
Oh God. Okay.
100% financing. If he
Wow.
just fogged the mirror and had stated income and bought a house.
See, that's crazy. And then now you're on the hook for it.
Now he
And
used it as a prop to attract clients.
oh, like
because he would
in
invite
videos and
because he
stuff.
would invite people to a pool party, but they never would go in the house. Almost like Surviving Diddy. You know what? I didn't go inside the house. I was in the backyard. I didn't go in the house.
Right, right. So he had a pool house out
Yeah, the
back.
pool.
He
Yeah,
had the pool house out back. Okay, okay.
with Ashley furniture.
I can't stand you. But I can't. Nothing wrong with Ashley Furniture, people.
It is if you have a $5 million house. You don't put that in there. Ashley furniture doesn't belong in a $5 million house. Stop it. Stop it. If you're gonna be luxury, be luxury.
I can't stand
There are
you.
rules to this thing. There are rules.
You're supposed to have a designer come in and just make it all grand and beautiful when you're going that high. But yeah, so this is an example of somebody who just wanted to flex,
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
didn't have the flow,
That's right. Go big
and
or
he
go
didn't have the
home.
freedom.
That's right. Exactly. Didn't have the freedom.
He didn't have the flow, and he didn't have the freedom. So you have to. That is funny. You said no Ashley Furniture in a $5 million house.
No way. Ethan Allen, potentially. You could do an Ethan Allen. That might make sense. They can
Oh
come out and
yeah, yeah. You
customize some
could.
things for you. I mean,
That's true too.
there are ways
No,
about
for
doing
for
that.
5 million, somebody coming up in there and they're gonna do exactly every pink room I want. This is how it's gonna happen.
I'll just give you
So
an estimate. On a house that size, 8,000 square feet, and you're in an exclusive neighborhood, it's going to cost you about $150,000 to $200,000 to furnish the
to
furniture.
furnish it, yeah,
Yeah.
you need to have that on deck for
And
real.
that's bare minimum. If you're talking cornings and custom drapes and all that's custom to the house, that when you sell the house, you sell the furniture and everything, because everything
Exactly.
is specific to that said house. You don't
Well,
see a
let me
big
ask you
U-Haul truck pull up
this:
when you sell mansions. Other than
when somebody's going to, as we said, rent the luxury, are
hmm
and it's do they furnish it to their liking as a rental, or do because it's somebody else's home, right?
No,
So
but
do you,
you're enjoying the furniture, so you're gonna furnish it to your taste that make you feel comfortable in that proximity.
I mean, you done saved a lot of money, so I guess you could put $150,000 worth of stuff in there too. Um, Because you're not putting down a 1.2 million, right? So you can still go out there and get the furniture that you want and stuff too.
So I'll share with you a flex on that, right? So if you want to move, right, you then
Mm-hmm.
contact the owner, and the owner then will see how you stage your home so beautifully. They might purchase the furniture from you or work out a deal where you can live there for free because you provided the aesthetics to the property. So there's ways of
Mm-hmm.
negotiating
Oh
leverage.
yeah, everything is negotiable.
Hmm.
Everything is negotiable. But yeah, I love real estate conversations because that's home. But it's this is really interesting. When someone says, I just want to have a home, I just want to buy it in my name. I want to be, well, let's say this, because of course we don't believe in buying in your name. When you buy it in a business, you have to also set it up, especially if you have heirs, so that your children can inherit the properties. So you have to, what is the process for people to do that? What would they need to do to make
Well,
sure that if something happens to them, because we're not going to live forever, right? So how do we make sure our children are secure with this corporate
okay.
owned property?
Okay, well, first of all, that's a great thing. So you are talking about legacy, which we teach a lot in the community about legacy. But in
Mm-hmm.
order to even have a legacy or posterity, if you will, you have to first have legs. Because in the word legacy, there's the word what? Legs.
Like,
And so you have to have standing. And
mm-hmm.
if you, in order to have legs and have standing, you have to have an estate,
You do.
private estate. And so the
Mm-hmm.
first thing you need to know is how to create something that you can transfer and that you created and you have control over. So the first thing is going to be you need to get with some competent people who understand private estate scenarios and create your legacy
Mm-hmm.
so that you can
Mm-hmm.
transpose it to someone else, transfer it to someone else after you moved on.
After you transition. And Q is asking, what's the benefits of putting a home in a trust?
Being anonymous, no probate, no inheritance tax,
Mm-hmm.
no third party interveners. I mean, the list goes on. Those are just some of the fundamentals.
Right.
But not all trusts are created equal. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, yeah. We've seen people marketing these trust programs, and they're not setting people up to really be fully protected. So
Well, the part that's interesting
yeah,
about that, right? And and that was a great question, but whomever asked that
that was
question, thank you,
Q.
Q, thank you for that question. But here's the biggest issue: when you find people marketing wealth transference tools and vehicles to individuals who haven't amassed wealth, they'll have a stack of very expensive papers.
Right.
So the way that we approach this is we first help you think better. We renew your mind to think regally, royally, and then you first get your first form of estate. You get some property first. May it be land, may it be precious metals, commodities that you can then, because every estate must be funded, and you can't fund a trust with FRNs because that's not yours
With money.
to begin with. So you see, there's a lot of conversation there. And I just want to point that out. There's more to talk about, but in our community, we show you how to truly establish, or what we like to say, funding the corpus of the trust. And once again, this is not legal advice or financial advice. This is from someone who's living that life and who has had the experience, and we're having a very educational conversation. So you have to learn how to properly fund the
Mm-hmm.
corpus.
Correct.
You can't do it with FRNs because FRNs is not money. It's not real money. It's not God's money. So you have to know how to do it.
How to properly do it. So, and he said it again. FRNs are money. So yes, that
FRNs are Federal Reserve notes. That's
but
not money.
right.
That's called legal tender. By the way, just
Correct.
to be specific, that's called legal tender.
Uh,
Real money, if you want to know what that is, Article 1, Section 10, last paragraph. There's so
what
much more we can talk about on that subject. Again, they need to get to the community so that we can really speak, without being cryptic.
yeah, most of these conversations are held in private. We don't, as I always say, Al is not a social media person, but he is a wealth of information and knowledge, and he educates us and empowers us on a daily basis. So him coming on board with me on this particular project is really to just enlighten people who want to be enlightened, who want to learn how to, because most of us didn't learn about money the right way, right? We never understood
Correct.
how money and credit truly works.
Correct.
And so if you don't know, you're going to constantly be bumping your head out here in the world and trying to figure out why you can't get past this. You might get to a certain point in life, but you will never understand why you can't get to the next level in life. And without some sort of some sort of guidance. And we all, just like he always says, if you're a professional ball player or anything, you have a coach, right? You need a mentor in life and you need a mentor in money, because if our parents didn't know about money, then how do we know about money? A lot of us left home at 18 years old, or 19 or whatever. We went to college, never returned. And when we went to school, we didn't learn about money, right? They just
Correct.
they
Correct.
taught us about what we were there to learn about. And then we got the job and then we went on with life. That's what's happened. And that's why people keep, I get a lot of repeat offenders who come back to me for credit repair because they don't understand how credit and money work. And this is a process on teaching you how to do it the right way, how to understand the true cost of money. As he mentioned earlier, you might buy a house for 200,000 or 100,000, but at the end of 30 years, you done paid 300,000. So it might have said you had a 2.9% interest rate, but you didn't pay 2.9%. Especially if you have now tripled what you've actually started with. The same
Correct.
thing with your car notes and things of that nature.
Correct.
So this is all a part of that process. I think Yap is asking questions. Oh,
Yeah, I
hold
did
on.
see about TCU. That's Trust Certificate Units. For those of you who don't know, that's what the abbreviation of TCU is, also known as Beneficial Certificate Interest, BCIs. It all depends on the type of trust that you're using. The language changes there. But the biggest misconception about that, especially when buying, renting versus ownership, people think putting the property in a trust, they don't have to pay taxes. Just let everyone know, trusts have to file a 1041 tax return, and they actually pay more. The flat tax rate is 36% for a trust. So again, if you don't know how to use a trust, you're going to
Okay.
pay even more taxes than you would have paid if using LLC. So see, there are reasons and rhymes to why you do it and how you do it. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not one trust does it all. There are
Correct.
different types of trust and different things that you have to do to maximize that. And that's why this has been safeguarded secrets of the elite wealthy, so that they knew how to do it. It wasn't general knowledge.
Right.
I was
And
thankful to have access to billionaire mentors.
so and now you're now giving out, not giving out, but you're now educating the rest of us who actually want to raise our hand and say, I want to learn how to do that too. I want to
And
learn how to
then
do it
what?
the right
Yes,
way.
that's right. Correct. And they become our
Because
family.
not everybody's gonna raise their hand. They're gonna keep
Correct.
trying to keep bumping their head in the dark and
You
trying to
believe it?
figure out why they can't get ahead, or they're gonna go and listen to the Instagram gurus who keep telling them to get the LLC and get the get the LLC, get a bank account, go get some money, and put it on your personal credit. So so these are the people who are out here regurgitating bad information. And because you hear it so often, like you heard the American dream so often, you heard go to college so often, you heard all these things so often, you start to believe it as fact. And it's not, that's not how wealthy people, not all wealthy people. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg and all of those people. They dropped out of college and they made more money, but they hire people who have graduated from college because they want to bring the smart people in. But Mark Zuckerberg said, I'm going to go out here and figure this out.
Bill Gates as well.
Bezos,
Bill Gates as well.
Bill
Bezos.
Gates as well. Yeah, Bill Gates didn't graduate either. So it's like you have to start to realize that maybe what we were sold is not actually true, right?
Well,
It's
here's the
not.
thing. I want to just clarify for one thing. We're not saying that using an LLC to get capitalization, that's the proper word. You're capitalizing your entity
Your
to
entity.
do things, but there are ramifications to doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
In a real business person, I can tell you firsthand experience. Everything I'm talking to you about, I lived firsthand. I didn't read two chapters before you and then come and regurgitate it to you. Everything is done, I've done, lived it. You, with those types of situations, you want in business, you want to always separate yourself from your entity. That's the whole purpose in doing business, is to insulate yourself and not put yourself into servitude. So what sense would it make that you are becoming the personal liability for an LLC? That when things go wrong, and let's be true here, let's be fair here, statistically, 9 out of 10 businesses will fail
Will fail.
in the first 2 years. And why? Because they have lack of market segmentation, not a proper management team, which means they don't have coaches and mentors, and they don't have proper past experience. And so the chances of you getting that 50, or if you're big on debt stacking and they got you up to 100K in your first round, the chances of you defaulting in your business and failing is going to be more probable than not. And then
Right.
who's holding the bag for that 100K?
You
You
are.
are. But if you do it the right way, with the right type of entities, you can separate yourself from that. Where if the business goes awry, you just put a tombstone on it and start a new one with no recourse, right? So again, I'm not saying that getting an LLC with funding or capitalization is bad, but you need
It's
to
not
consider
smart.
the risk versus the reward scenario.
Right. And a lot of people, because I have funded a lot of people, right? So a lot of people will come to me and they will say, I need funding. And they'll get the 50,000, they'll get the 200,000 or whatever, because they have an idea. And then when that money hits their account, guess what? That idea goes out the window because they are now ready. They have an ability right now to flex. So instead of, and
Parkinson's law.
they're going to, I had one guy, he got 100,000 and he came back to me to fix his credit again. This is after I fixed his credit. He got 100,000 and he said, I'm going to get a business. I'm going to start this business. And maybe 6, 7 months later, he had to come back to me to get his credit fixed again. And I said, well, what happened to the business you were starting? He said, oh, I bought an Escalade with that.
See?
I was like,
So
what?
a depreciating asset, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. I was like,
Depreciating asset. The moment he drove it off the lot, it depreciated by
it was,
30%. And every year
yeah.
thereafter is downhill from there.
It made 0 sense to me. I was like, you could have just went and got a car loan for that. I mean, used. I thought you were starting this business. Oh no, I know. I just need you to get these inquiries off for B, and I need you to
So I can get
get
another
this stuff.
50,000, another 50.
Right, right. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this time. I'm gonna do it this time. So I say all that to say is a lot of times when that money when you have never seen that kind of money, a lot of times you're going to go buck wild.
Never see come see, as we would say.
Yeah. So you're going to go, if you're not disciplined, you're going to go buck wild. A lot of people, it's like me trying to tell people, I'm going to help you in our Partner with a Purpose program, help you create, $750 an hour. People think I'm lying. Like, how do you do that? It's not hard. As I have learned through Al and I have learned listening to other people who are in the same position, it's a lot easier to make $1 million a month than it is to make $1 million a year. It's a lot easier because sometimes it takes 1 hour of a conversation to do it, right? So as opposed to you trying to piece little people together over and over and over again, you can go for one big gusto and create that $1 million sale.
Because time is time.
Exactly. You
It's
don't
just how
need.
you utilize it.
You don't have to speak to you don't have to have a thousand clients in order to get to $1 million. You can have one good client. If you have the right solution for that particular client, they will pay you.
And people pay for results, which is the value that they see the most, which is solving their problem. Facts of the matter.
So it's a lot of times it's getting out of our own way. A lot of times it's being able to see the big picture. Is that once upon a time I didn't think I can get to $10,000 a month in the early like 99 and 2000s and stuff. I didn't know that was something I could do until I did it. And then when I did the 10, I was able to do 20. And then when I did that, I was able to do more and more and more. And then it was like, oh, okay. It's really just about consistency. It's about really changing your mindset. It's
So you
about
actually,
really
yeah.
saying that I am worthy of doing this as opposed to $20 an hour or $50,000 a year. So it's all about, because I don't like somebody telling me what I'm worth. That's what, because that's when you're interviewing and they tell you the salary, that's somebody telling you what they believe you're worth for this particular opportunity that they're extending to you.
Well, look at it again. A bottle of water in the corner store in any neighborhood in the hood is $1, right?
It is
Then when you go to the gas station, it's worth how much? $2.
$2,
And then if you go to the movie theater, it's worth how much?
about
$5.
$5.
And then
Go
if
to
you
the airport.
go to the airport, it's $7. So it's the same bottle of water, maybe Evian, maybe Perry, maybe whatever, Zephyr, whatever it's going to be called. It's still the same bottle of water, but based on the proximity in which you are in, it will cost more. So the issue here is don't let people define your value, change the proximity in the people who would give you the value.
Exactly. It's also, when you think it's real estate, is the same way, right? One house in Baltimore City can be worth $10,000. That same house moved down to Montgomery County is now going to be worth close to $1 million. So it's about location. It's about it's about proximity. It's about location, and that determines the value at that particular point in time. Same house, but people are paying for that zip code, or that your friend who wanted the $5 million house, he could have went to another zip code, probably a couple blocks over, or a couple of miles over, and paid a whole lot less and been able to furnish his house.
Well, here's the thing, right? As your frequency or your consciousness rises, your circles will get smaller, but the value of those smaller circles increase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same with proximity. So as you're hearing our conversations on a daily basis, repetitively, and we're sowing good seed into your fertile ground in your mind, you'll begin to see who your mind should be in bed with. And you'll start to qualify the relationship based on the value of the exchange.
So who do you listen to, right?
Right. And then you would want to become a part of that family because we're vibing on the same frequency. See, so everything is about family business. I don't do business with you unless you're my family.
Right.
I only do business with people that I know, like, and trust, and it's going to be a win-win scenario. It's not I win and you lose. No, we're going to win together, we're going to lose together, but it will be done together. Because I live according to that principle. Family is business, and loyalty and love is law. If we can live with those two, if you can adhere to those two constructs or concepts, we can do well.
Exactly. And blood doesn't make you family.
No, that's your relative.
It's your relative.
Blood is a person you choose. That's your brethren, your sister.
Exactly.
Who share the same consciousness. That's when you have that renewing of the mind and you're on the same frequency.
Correct.
And sometimes your own relative that you didn't have a choice or decision to be connected to won't vibe with you, won't support you. And there'll be someone else who's in your corner who's more family, has shown to be a family member over your relative.
It's that whole saying of, and I used to say this all the time, that when, especially being in business, right? Your family and friends won't support you, but you find yourself some strangers and they'll support you all day long because your family and friends, I don't know what that is about, right?
They don't see you in your new, they only see you in your former self. That's what in the scriptures it will say that a prophet is not a prophet in his own land, because you know what? Even Yeshua had that challenge when Naaman thought he was the Messiah because of the fact that he was the carpenter's son. They saw him as Mary and Joseph's son, the carpenter.
That's it. That's true.
They could not see him beyond in his divinity or in his enlightenment, if you will.
Exactly.
And so that happens with you as you enlighten yourself, being involved in conversations like that. I like to call them building sessions. And then you begin to change your thought process, and then your vision changes, and then your attitude changes. You become to be different. than those you've hung around. And you
Exactly.
decide to realize that that's not the space you want to be in anymore.
Yeah, it becomes so she thinks she all that. He
Yeah,
think he all that. But at some point you have to,
absolutely, Yafa. Who's doing the work of Yah? Exactly.
yeah, you have to make a decision on how you want to exist in this life, how you want to live, how you want to show up in this life. And it's sometimes you unfortunately will have to leave some people behind, even those that you are related to. Unfortunately, I love you, but obviously we're, like Al said, we're not vibing on the same frequency, and I'm trying to go here and you're trying to stay here. That's not working for me. I'll
When I
see you
look
at the family reunions
at
or
the
whatever.
when I learned that construct that I could love you unconditionally, but that doesn't mean I have to like you
Exactly.
or
That's
be
what,
like you.
exactly. I told you my grandmother said that to me many years ago. I was so confused as a little 11, 12-year old. She said, I love all my children. Doesn't necessarily mean I like them all. I was like, what?
That's correct. Now that word "like" could
Yeah.
be like or like in the form of a form of gesture.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, think about that. You
It
make the
is.
child, but you don't make their minds, right? So there you go. There
Exactly.
you have it.
Exactly. So this replay is going to be on YouTube at Pink Power CEO and also at Prophetic Financier. Um, so I'll put all that information. I'll put a clip on my page, and then it will have all the details on how to access this. But again, this conversation was about, should we rent forever, or should we buy, or should we purchase a home, and the benefits of that. And we actually gave some great benefits on even just renting, if you learn how to rent properly, and then turn the money that you would have been putting down for your down payment and learn how to put that money to work for you. You can now have that money working and now paying for the rent that you're, for the residence that you're in and things of that nature. So, and also buying other things and investing in other ways. Your money should actually always be working for you or becoming impregnated, right?
Correct. Money is a better servant than it is a leader by far.
Exactly. So you want to have money working for you so that you're not always having to trade your time for dollars for money. And that's really what this conversation is. Any of our conversations are about, be it real estate, be it businesses, starting businesses, business acquisition, whatever we're talking about.
Or just lifestyle
Yeah,
righteously, living life righteously in your right consciousness, the way that the
right.
Most High will desired us to have it. Because all those other
Exactly.
things are byproducts, but it's living your best life in accordance to how you were created to live in righteousness.
Correct. Exactly. So again, I'm gonna put this on YouTube probably in about an hour or so. I have some appointments I have to jump on, and but I'll put
It is a
the
think tank. It is a think tank, Hugh. That's what it is. We always in a think tank. Always
always.
in the master's mind. You're gonna always know that when you build with us.
As I'm like always, I talk to you. We talk all the time. So it's always on. It's the thinking is always on. The building is always on. Just trying to figure out even just how to help more people, how to reach more people. Because again, had we been talking about some scandalous stuff, it'd be a room full of people, right? If
Thousands.
we were arguing about Kamala and Trump, a room full of people trying to teach people how to have their credit and money working for them the right way is crickets.
Well, I guess more you need to throw on. You may have to throw on a teddy.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. We
I
all
gotta
know
put
I
on
ain't
some,
doing that.
and I gotta put on some gray sweatpants. I don't know.
I guess, I guess,
I
right?
don't know.
I don't
We're just
know.
being funny here, but
But
yeah, but
yeah,
that's the sad condition of humanity right now is that sexuality and sensuality is more impactful than knowledge.
yeah, yeah. When I mean, just thinking about, because you and I had this conversation even this morning. I'm like, nobody's doing all of that. There's people in their 50s that are actually parading themselves on social media for likes, comments, and shares. I'm not doing that.
And here's the sad thing.
I'm not doing it.
That doesn't equate to money.
It doesn't equate to money. I got better things to do than to, and to parade myself or to expose myself in that manner. I want to enlighten people. I want to empower you, and I want to see you edified financially to the next level, because I was a single parent who was, trying to, in a financial chokehold, fighting for my life at one point in time. And I know that there are other people who have two parents in a household that are still fighting for their life right now. So, or just trying to figure out why am I in the same place year after year. 2024 is done. This year is done. And 2025 is going to be here before you know it. And I promise you that the majority of the people that will hear the replay or just go on with life will not take action and then be trying to figure out why am I living paycheck to paycheck.
We should do a challenge. We should do a challenge and see how many people really want to change their lives and become a part of our community where they can get the full exposure and partner with a purpose.
And partner with a purpose. You can go to the link is in the bio on here. You can click on that. When you go to the link, it's going to say you can look at being a member, partnering with a purpose, or even learning about our real estate approved program, because we help you purchase property as investors to regardless of your credit. We actually, and there's no closing costs involved in that as well. But that's a process that you would have to raise your hand for. But you would click the link in that bio to learn more about that, and you choose whatever option you want to go for from there. But you have to be willing to, you can't keep saying I'm living paid. Like the lady you sent me yesterday in the video. Mm-hmm. She said, I have 2 degrees. I make $80,000. And pretty much she said, I'm fighting for my life out here. I can't figure out how, I can't keep doing it like this.
She don't know where she went wrong. Got 2 degrees, got a good job, all of that, and can't figure life out. Life ain't lifing.
Right. No, life is lifing.
Well, in her case, she's not living. She's
not living. Life is lifing, and life has its foot on her neck right now.
Now, mind you, she makes 80,000, so she's above the national average,
right?
By far.
Exactly, as Mr. Daniels just said, that the person is in a hamster wheel. That's what most people are doing. They're constantly in this cycle of chasing the cheese, it's like it's ridiculous, and they don't realize at some point you have to get off that wheel and take a survey of your surroundings and be like, what the F am I doing right now? What's going on?
You have nothing to lose. One can always revert back to that lifestyle.
Exactly. You can always go back.
You can always go back. It's waiting for you.
Yeah, patiently.
But if you dare to be faithful, mm-hmm. and step out without having to see certain things or be pretty much entertained to make a decision.
Correct. And that's the problem there as well. We're too busy trying to be entertained as opposed to being
on the other end,
as opposed to being uplifted and empowered, right? There is a better way in this life, and it's not always behind a $3,000 course that you're probably not going to plug into anyway.
Correct.
Because most people buy those courses and they don't plug in. So that's another problem. So we want, like Al says, he likes to do education with action behind it. So we give you some clear, concise steps. There's going to be some learning in this because, again, this is not like some microwavable,
correct.
Financial process here. There is some steps that you're going to have to learn, like how does credit and money work for real? All right. So
learn how it works. People just want the results of it, but then become repeat offenders, as you always say.
Yeah.
But if you learn how it operates and the purpose of it, life changes.
My credit recidivists, I call them. My repeat offenders. They keep coming back. But the goal is to not get you to come back. My goal right now is to partner with people to get your credit where it needs to be, to show you how your credit can turn into cash flow, to show you how real estate can actually turn into cash flow, so that now those things that you have now put in place, now you can go get those things and create that lifestyle that you really want to have and live. Right. So
and own companies together, not customer client relationship, partnership.
Correct. Partner. That's the thing, because everybody wants their name on everything, right? So once we get out of that mindset and know that, what do you say? I'd rather have a piece of a elephant or something. What did you?
I'd rather have 10% of an elephant than 100% of an ant.
Correct. Yeah, I like that. So yeah. So we should all aspire to what he just said. 10% of an elephant or 100% of an ant. Because when you're doing it by yourself, it used to be when I was doing it by myself at one point in time, it was a lot. I've been in business. This month makes 16 years. I've been in business. And for probably 9 years, I was doing it mostly by myself. And that's a lot, because I was an accountant. I was the customer service. I was sales.
The jack of all
I
trades, the
was
chief bottle
everything.
washer, and the cook.
I was tired. That's what it was. But I was determined not to go back into corporate America. So that was that. But I was fighting for my life, even as a business owner. And it was hard. So when you start to learn the different ways and things to do things and to delegate and to bring people on and all of that stuff, life gets a little bit easier. But when you bring on coaches and mentors that can help you navigate as well, your life gets a lot better. And freedom is the ultimate. We said freedom. We want cash flow. We want freedom, and we want to. Most people want to flex.
And I know the question that most. I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct, Flex. But I know most people probably asking the question. Well, what's in it for you? Why are you bringing these gems to us every day? Why are you not like all the rest? Right. Well, very simple. We want to partner with you. We want to expose you to the things that we know how to do and empower you to be an informed partner. And together, through group economics, we can win.
Exactly.
Flying the same banner.
This is true.
But conquering and putting our flag in every place that we conquer. When you buy a franchise, McDonald's franchise, right? Your entity could be ABC Restaurant LLC that owns a franchise of McDonald's, but guess whose name is on the outside? McDonald's. But you're part of the movement and the mission, because name brand recognition on a national scale beats anything local.
Exactly.
So if we move strategically, as a unit, we can be in multiple markets around the states, around the world, as a matter of fact.
This is true.
But internationally, but you got to dial in. You got to tap in.
Most definitely do. You have to raise your hand in order to participate. So, like I said, I'm going to put this out on YouTube probably in about an hour or two. I have some appointments, and we'll resume tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow with you mentioned something that we should talk about mortgages earlier, but I'll listen to it again and
Okay, fair enough.
it was something that you said we should talk about. But that's real estate is something that's big with us. So it's because we know it's one of the ways that people can build wealth, right? Businesses and real estate is the two most important ways that people are actually able to build wealth. So those are going to be the conversations you hear about the most from us.
Correct.
So, well, as always, Mr. Mills, I appreciate you and thank you for
My pleasure.
for gracing us with your time. And I'll talk to you in a little bit. Everyone have a blessed and prosperous day. And I will, like I said, get this out on YouTube later on today.
Awesome. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you, Yapa.